Hi, everybody. We're coming to you live from Lake Ontario National Marine Sanctuary. I'm Holly Pettis, the Deputy Expedition Leader for this expedition.
And I'm Marley Parker, the expedition photographer and videographer.
We're really fortunate to be here today in the newly designated Lake Ontario National Marine Sanctuary. The sanctuary was designated in July of 2024. And over the course of the next 2 weeks, we're going to be collecting baseline information on the shipwrecks that are here within the sanctuary.
And this is actually a kind of first of its kind expedition. People have known about and been exploring and looking at shipwrecks here in Lake Ontario for years. Many people have gone scuba diving on some of these wrecks, but a lot of them are in water that is too deep to scuba dive. So we have brought some pretty amazing technology, a really cool cutting edge, brand new ROV that we're going to talk about, and just really get into how and why we're out here exploring and investigating shipwrecks in a way that's never been done before.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah. During our program today, we will talk a lot about our tech. We'll introduce a few members of our team, and we'll talk about just the goals of this 2-week expedition. And I think we will kick it off with hearing from our expedition leader, Jason Fay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Fay. I'm the expedition leader for an upcoming search for shipwrecks in the brand new Lake Ontario National Marine Sanctuary. My organization, the Ocean Exploration Cooperative Institute, is funded by NOAA to conduct ocean exploration across our world's oceans. We're lucky enough to have been working with the Lake Ontario National Marine Sanctuary to baseline these shipwrecks to understand the maritime resources that exist in the sanctuary. We've brought exquisite cameras and amazing ROVs. We've got students and scientists collaborating together. It's going to be one heck of an expedition. We can't wait for you to follow along.
So yeah, as Jason mentioned, we have a great team out here. We've got about 15 people on our science team. That includes engineers, scientists, experts in shipwreck history, as well as a couple of students. We have some college undergrads who are out working on a research vessel for the first time. And we're going to hear from one of them. Susanna is training to become an ROV pilot.
My name is Susanna Maycutt. I am a undergraduate at the University of Rhode Island, and I'm here to help out, hopefully get some experience with co-piloting the ROV and learn more about ocean science while we're out here on Lake Ontario.
You all have heard ROV a lot now, so let's meet our ROV, Rhody. Rhody is a remotely operated vehicle that we had custom made from this awesome company we partnered with in the Netherlands called JM Robotics. And it's this awesome little compact system that's allowed us to be here. And we actually have some great footage of all of the excitement that we had when it arrived to the University of Rhode Island. So we're going to share that with you guys.
My name is Jason Fay. I'm the Associate Director of the Ocean Exploration Cooperative Institute.
I'm Dave Casagrande at URI's Graduate School of Oceanography. Today we're doing an unboxing. We have here the new ROV from JM Robotics. It's a remotely operated underwater submarine.
We're lucky enough to be talking to you today about a vehicle that the University of Rhode Island purchased, which is the lead institution in the Ocean Exploration Cooperative Institute. So the cool thing about this vehicle is it was the smallest vehicle we could find that could host the high-end, large capabilities, the sensors that are required in kind of our community.
The small size of this is really nice for deploying it off of smaller ships, and it's a lot easier to package it up and send it around.
You know, we're here at the university. Students participating with this vehicle is a key thing for us, and not only to have the ease of use controlling the vehicle by an Xbox controller in this case, but then to be able to fly it in a very unique manner is very attractive. The student population here has a huge interest in being involved, and so we wanted to tap into that.
Follow us on our first expedition with this vehicle, second half of May out in Lake Ontario.
You want to see our successes and the tough lessons we learned. We'll be sharing all of those on this same platform, so please smash the like button and follow us
So one thing that was really important with this ROV, we just received it at the end of April.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is brand new.
It's brand new. So one thing that was really important for us was to test all of the systems and make sure that everything was functioning before we brought it up here to Lake Ontario. And to do that, our team packed up all of our gear, drove to Vermont, and tested our remotely operated vehicle in the Dorset Marble Quarry. You can see us here with our two ROVs. The one on the left, the larger system, is the one we'll be using here in Lake Ontario. The one on the right was the one that we practiced with, learned how to pilot on. It doesn't really have all the tech that we need for this expedition. The big yellow things in front of the ROVs are our tether spools, which connect the ROV to our piloting station back on the ship. That allows us to drive around and investigate the shipwrecks and any other points of interest on the bottom of the lake. This was a really great opportunity, not only to test all of our systems, but to make sure that all of our students had adequate pilot training. Some of our students have never flown an ROV before. That's something that's actually really challenging to have access to. So that's an exciting part about this, is that you, as Jason said, you can control this with an Xbox controller. So here we have some, our student Ashley, she was helping inspect the ROV, and now she's looking over the expedition leader's shoulder. I think they're going through the pre-dive checklist, which is another really important aspect of making sure we're safely operating the vehicle. Here she is managing the tether. She's a superstar. She does anything we need her to do. Tether management's also really important. We don't want to get our tether caught or tangled in any standing masts that might be remaining on the shipwrecks. Another really great and unique feature about Rhody is its size, Marley. It's so compact. You can see here Jason and Joe actually lifting the ROV out of the water. And I know this is something that's pretty different from the ROVs that you have seen be deployed in the past.
Yeah, I'll be happy to talk about some of the ROVs I've worked on. I did just want to say, though, that for this test operation up in Vermont, you know, I think it's one thing to test the technology itself, but it's also really, really important to, you know, figure out the correct protocols, your checklist, your, you know, your teamwork and how you bring people together, making sure people know how to communicate. All of those are just as important as the technology working. So yeah, I think here we've got a little clip of footage actually from the ROV, right?
Yeah, so this is just our dive cam on the ROV. So this allows the pilots to see where they are when they're driving around. We also have equipped Rhody with a Voyis camera system. And the Voyis system is what is going to allow us to create these really high resolution 3D models of shipwrecks. And we'll see an example of one of those in a little bit. But the Voyis camera system, if anybody in the audience is familiar with the Shackleton wreck that National Geographic just documented and shared with everybody, that's the same camera system that they use. So it's really powerful technology, and that's the quality of data we're going to have from these shipwrecks, which is fantastic.
That is awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I am very excited to share that factoid. Yeah, I wish I could have been on that expedition. That was an incredible one.
But you've been on so many other expeditions and worked with so many awesome scientists and seen a ton of other technology be deployed.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to work on 24 different oceanographic research expeditions over the past few years, and I would say about half of those have been working with ROV systems. So I'm very familiar with ROVs and working with ROV teams, but it looks a bit different with compared to what we're doing out here. So I've spent a lot of time working on EV Nautilus, which is owned and operated by the Ocean Exploration Trust. And we have a very robust ROV system on that ship. Our ROV is called Hercules, or we lovingly refer to it as Herc. Herc is significantly larger than Little Rhody. Hercules is a 5,500 pound, 7 foot tall ROV that can take all kinds of high definition cameras, sensors, lights, and sampling tools down to the seafloor. So it can go down to a depth of 4,000 meters, a little over 13,000 feet deep. It can collect a lot of different types of samples and and record some incredible video footage of what's down at the bottom of the ocean. It's a very powerful tool for exploring the deep sea, but it is not the tool that we would need for this type of exploration. It's something that would work really well for looking at deep sea corals, hydrothermal vents, lots of other amazing deep sea environments. This is the type of ROV that you would want. But for what we're doing here in Lake Ontario, Hercules would not work for us.
We, in fact, would not have room for Hercules on the ship.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
That is definitely one of the advantages to the Rhody system is its compact size. It allows us to mobilize our remotely operated vehicle from much smaller vessels. And not only that, it can do more intricate work. The ROV Rhody has the ability to fly with 6 degrees of freedom. So Hercules can move forwards, backwards, up, or down. That's pretty standard for most ROV systems. But Rhody can fly in what we call acrobatic mode, which means it can do the spins, it can tilt fully in both directions, which is going to allow us to get up close and personal with these shipwrecks and fly at angles that allows us to capture the best imagery possible to create these 3D models without damaging any of the wrecks. We're not getting too close to anything. It's a really powerful capability.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just that maneuverability and honestly, just the small size, the idea that you can deploy an ROV with this level of quality of instrumentation on it and deploy it and recover it by hand. I'm so used to working on vessels where you need to have a massive crane and a crane operator and lots of heavy machinery to get the thing in and out of the water. The fact that 2 people can just pull this out of the water, that opens up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, it's really spectacular. And you mentioned kind of the dynamic sampling systems that you can integrate onto Hercules. We don't have quite that freedom with Rhody, but what we can do is interchange some of our cameras and sensors. We have a cinematic grade camera with us that, depending on what might interest us, we can collect cinematic grade footage of these shipwrecks, which is going to be spectacular. And it's as easy as mounting it onto the little bottom ROV skid. And it's really, really awesome that we have such flexibility with that.
Yeah, and it's not just getting really, beautiful cinematic footage. We can actually do photogrammetry and 3D modeling with the tools that we have on Rhody. And I think I had the opportunity to sit down with Ben Yose, who is our lead scientist, and he explained more about these 3D models of shipwrecks and how and why we collect those. So I think we've got a clip we can show on that.
This is kind of what we're going for on these dives. One thing historically in maritime archaeology that's taken a lot of time, and specifically time diving, bottom time, has been recording and mapping of sites in order to map an entire site with a high degree of precision. Since the last about decade and a half, increasingly powerful software has allowed us to develop, using photography, very detailed 3-dimensional models of wrecks that have a level of accuracy that's far beyond what you could do with measurements, just manually and at a far more efficient time scale. We use these not only to assess the condition of a site, to map a site and understand it archaeologically, but also there are other tools you can compare successive photo models. Like if we go back next year and take a photo model, or in 10 years' time, we can use programs, or computer programs, to compare the differences in the models. which allows us to understand how a site is degrading or deteriorating over time.
Man, having been on board is so exciting. He just is a wealth of knowledge about all of the shipwrecks here in the sanctuary.
Yeah, we recorded those videos and then spent another 2 hours chatting with him. I am excited to sit down with him for a longer interview and just learn more from him. I think anybody, shipwrecks have had such a, I think, really capture the human imagination and always have. And, you hear about shipwrecks like the Endurance in Shackleton's case, or the Titanic, obviously. But anyone who's interested in shipwrecks should really pay attention to the Great Lakes. I had no idea how many shipwrecks were here and how much history was here. Did we mention earlier the number of shipwrecks here in the sanctuary?
No. So right now, there are 63 known shipwrecks in the sanctuary, but part of what we're doing here is looking for more, hopefully, and
getting more detailed data on the ones we do know about.
Exactly.
And then, absolutely looking for more. It's estimated, when I asked Ben how many shipwrecks there are in the entirety of Lake Ontario, he said that's a very difficult question but a very conservative estimate is well over 100. So there's a lot to be discovered. There's still a lot to explore out here. And it's just so cool that we can bring the technology and the team that has the capability to do just that.
Yeah. And we wouldn't be here without the National Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. Thank you to the OECI as well. That's our team is here from the OECI.
Yep.
And also we're on the EPA vessel, the Lake Guardian, and we wouldn't be able to do this survey without this ship. So we're just really thankful to all of our partners and really grateful to be here having the ability to do all of these things.
And learn so much.
Yeah. We are happy to take some questions from the audience, right, Marley?
I think so. Yeah. We've got time for questions. How does it work? People can just type them in?
Yeah. So if you all have questions, if you're on YouTube, just type them into the comment section. We'll be able to see them on our end and we can answer any questions you all might have. While we wait though, Marley, how did you get into this documentarian of seagoing research?
Yeah. How did I become a photographer and videographer that specializes in documenting deep sea research expeditions?
Yeah. It seems very specific.
It's pretty niche. Yeah. Long story, but I got my degree in journalism. I actually do not have a science background, which I think is important to, tell people and to talk about. People often think that if you want to do ocean going research expeditions, you have to be a marine biologist, and that is not the case. I got my photography, photojournalism degree. I ended up working in a research office at a university, doing communications work for a university. And then I got my first opportunity to work on a research vessel in Antarctica back in 2018. So that was a really exciting kind of life-changing jump to go from working with marine scientists on the coast of North Carolina to working with folks in Antarctica. And since that first expedition, I think I'm on expedition number 25 now.
Oh my God.
So it's a long story. That's kind of the very short version, but I love doing this type of work. It's really rewarding, really fulfilling, and just really fascinating to get to work alongside these scientists, engineers, historians, and just learn so much about things I didn't know about.
The amount of expertise that you've been exposed to throughout all of your different expeditions. Most research expeditions have different focuses. And so you might have geologists or volcanologists or people who are super invested in coral health, and you have had access to all of these people.
Yeah, they're all fascinating. I will say some of my favorites are the volcanologist. I am both colleagues and good friends with a renowned deep sea volcanologist, Bill Chadwick at Oregon State University. I was just working with him, and we are waiting for that volcano off the coast of Oregon to erupt, axial seamount, but that's a separate thing. I just mentioned that because I know that you're also interested in volcanoes, and you got your degree in geology, right?
Yeah, my background is in geology. My master's research was centered around volcanoes, volcanology. So I'm not a marine biologist either. This is a silicic lava dome in Mammoth, California that I spent a few summers scrambling all over, helping my best friend map. Um, this is also me in California. Sun protection as a ginger is paramount.
I love this. This is amazing.
Yeah, the days are long and hot, and sometimes you just gotta pull your buff over your face to take a break from the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
I wonder if we have the photo of you working on the back deck of the ship here.
Yeah. So this was me on the Rhody's Resolution. This was my first research expedition. I was at sea for 2 months, running the fin section lab on board the vessel. So that was a super cool experience. It looks like we have some questions. So we're being asked if we can talk about some of the risk involved with documenting these shipwrecks.
Yeah, so I'll address the first part of this question with, even with some of the wreck sites that are within scuba diving limits. So the typical depth rating for recreational scuba diving is up to around 120 feet deep. But even if you're just around that depth, even if you're not doing super technical deep diving, there's still some safety concerns and just human physiological limitations to how long you can be down diving on a wreck. They were also in very, very cold water. So there's some concerns with hypothermia. Takes a lot of gear and a lot of energy to send multiple people down to scuba dive on a wreck. And again, safety concerns, limitations with time. And, we can send our little ROV into the water for hours and hours and hours. But it's a little more efficient than individual humans capturing, that data. So do you want to talk a little bit more about Rhody and how it can stay down?
The Rhody's ability to map these wrecks, these deeper wrecks, is one of the reasons why we have this system. And the one thing that we are going to be most mindful of is our tether. And that's really, we just want to make sure we have the weather and all of the safety mechanisms in place for our deckhands on the back deck. That's really the biggest risk when operating the ROV. And if the weather gets to be too much, then we pause operations because human safety is definitely paramount.
Oh yeah, always. ROV operations are generally safer. We're not sending humans in a submersible down to the seafloor. But there are still concerns with the folks who are working on the back deck, and especially with this ROV because it is deployed by hand. We're picking it up and carrying it across the deck and sticking it in the water, which again is great for accessibility and maneuverability and flexibility.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be working out on deck if we're in really rough conditions or, if it's dangerous at all.
Yeah. And the last part of this question, if the ROV gets stuck, how do you get it back? If you caught the team image of us in front of the quarry earlier, you could see that we actually have 2 ROVs. We have Rhody and little Rhody, which we also refer to as its little brother. Little Rhody is capable of rescuing its big brother if necessary. We have mechanisms in place should Rhody get stuck on the bottom, but we're not anticipating that to happen.
Yeah.
But you have to practice just in case.
Our next question is a great follow-up to what we were just discussing, and that was about our schedule for the expedition. Is it set in stone or fluid? And I will say that after doing 25 at-sea expeditions, it's all about flexibility. And we always make a schedule and make a plan, and it always absolutely changes. So our plan's already changed a little bit, just getting started here. And we really have to be adaptable and flexible. We have very clear, specific goals for the wrecks that are, the top priorities. But the schedule is always subject to change.
Adaptability is really the name of the game here.
Yep. Let's see, we might have a few more questions coming in.
I think we're just having some
great comments as well.
Yeah.
Appreciate all of you tuning in with your comments and questions.
This is so awesome, Marley, to be here in this new sanctuary with our new ROV doing this first of its kind expedition. And I'm really grateful as well to be here with you. It's been so great to meet you and work with you.
Yeah, it's also, I have to say, again, having done over 24 expeditions, it's really amazing to do something that's never been done before. I mean, I've gone out on a lot of expeditions where we're collecting water samples, or we're deep sea mapping, or we're, looking at submarine volcanoes, but all of those things have been seen before, and we're gathering more data. So we're going to see things that we've never seen before. We might discover some new things that we didn't know were there. That is really phenomenal.
There will be an opportunity actually for the public to tune in to a never before seen shipwreck on Wednesday. So please tune in. We'll be live streaming from our ROV dive camera. So if that interests you and you all would like to see a never before seen shipwreck along with us, please tune back in then, and we'll have another event as well towards the end of our expedition as an expedition wrap up, where we can share some of our 3D models that we've generated, some really cool dive footage, give you a summary of kind of what we've accomplished. And
yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff that we're squeezing into the next 2 weeks. So definitely stay tuned. And then I'm taking photos and filming videos the whole time we're out here. I'm going to make a short documentary style video about everything we do. So if you don't get a chance to tune in while we're still out here, you can catch that later on the Lake Ontario National Marine Sanctuary website. They will have a lot of my photos and our videos from this expedition. So definitely go check them out. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in and your interest and your great comments and questions. We're really just happy to be out here and happy to have the enthusiasm and excitement of so many people.
Yeah.